Hey guys, it is Julie here with JT.Wealth. Today we are going to be talking about two companies who have been in the news a lot lately, and that is TikTok and Microsoft. So let's get into it. Okay, so like I said, these companies have been in the headlines quite a bit lately. TikTok, because Trump is discussing banning them here in the States soon, and Microsoft, because they might swoop in and purchase them to stop that from happening. Before we get into all of this though, I just want to say welcome back to all of our subscribers and hello to everybody new. Please make sure that you hit that like button, give us a thumbs up, and make sure you're subscribed too so that you can stay up to date with all of our latest videos. So today we are going to cover who is TikTok, in case you're unaware, why does Trump want to ban them here in the States, why Microsoft might buy them and what's in it for them, but what issues there might be with the purchase as well, and does this make Microsoft stock a buy? So to start off, who is TikTok? So for those who don't know, they are a video sharing social network. So it's typically short style music clips, 3 to 15 seconds long. There's lip syncing, dancing, comedy, talent, all kinds of stuff on there. It's a really viral app that reportedly has over 800 million users worldwide. Now, TikTok is owned by ByteDance, and now this is where things get a little bit touchy, as ByteDance is a Chinese-owned internet technology company who is centered out of Beijing. Now, there has been rising concerns over the security of this app and how it's using people's information. So TikTok has actually already been banned in India, which had one of the largest numbers of users. India has banned TikTok along with 58 other Chinese apps, just based on security concerns that they are using data illegally and secretly collecting people's information on their phones when they're downloading these apps. This article on Forbes describes how TikTok is able to basically read everything you copy on any Apple connected device. So this has led President Trump, now also wanting to ban TikTok, over fears of US citizens' information being in the hands of the Chinese. Now, for the record, TikTok has repeatedly denied these accusations, stating that they only store US data on servers that are in the US or in Singapore. Nevertheless, though, President Trump has stated that he will ban TikTok in the US by September 15th. But there is a possible solution here, and that is having a US company purchase TikTok so that Americans' information is in the hands of the US and not in China. Now, this is where Microsoft comes in, with Trump's blessing, of course. Microsoft has confirmed that it is in discussions with TikTok on purchasing a portion of their company. This portion obviously would most importantly include the US, but also Canada, Australia, and New Zealand regions. TikTok is said to be valued around $50 billion or so, and there's been speculation that the sale price floating around has been anywhere between $10 billion to $30 billion. Microsoft is definitely at an advantage here though, because ByteDance doesn't really have many other options. They either sell this US portion or it's getting shut down. Now also just keep in mind there that we said the US portion plus those few other regions that we mentioned, because we will touch back on this later on and what those implications are. So if this deal does go through, Microsoft has already agreed with the US government that they would bring over TikTok's code from China to the US within 1 year. There's very few American companies that would have the bandwidth capabilities to transfer large amounts of data over to their own systems within a year, let alone afford the purchase price of TikTok, but Microsoft is well positioned for both. Other large companies like Facebook, Amazon, Google would also be in strong positions and already have that kind of social media presence. However, they've been under a lot of scrutiny lately from antitrust law scenarios, so they wouldn't quite have Trump's blessing the same way that Microsoft does. Now, obviously, Trump is big time in favor for bringing TikTok to the US side here, but what would be in it for Microsoft? So Microsoft has largely shifted away from the consumer space and really focused on that corporate space and has a ton of success with their cloud-based business. This TikTok deal would make a big push back to that consumer space and give them a really large social media presence basically instantly. The only social media presence that Microsoft has right now is LinkedIn, and we know that's really just a professional-based platform. TikTok would make Microsoft the second largest US operator of a social media platform. This would give them instant brand recognition with that younger generation as well. And obviously, along with TikTok, they could make a lot of revenue from advertising. Another big perk for Microsoft, though, is going to be all of the data and users that they'll gain access to. Obviously, the big focus of moving it from China to the US is to keep that data safe, but Microsoft will certainly have access to it to help them correct a blind spot with this younger generation and influence how their future software and services are developed inside their company. But what issues or complications could there be for Microsoft from purchasing TikTok? Well, remember earlier how I said that they're just looking at purchasing a portion, including the US, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. Well, this Verge article brings up a particularly interesting point, and that is the fact that no one has ever split up a social network along regional lines like this before, much less under the threat of a national ban from the president. So peeling those 4 countries away from the rest of TikTok could be quite difficult, and if successful, it could leave Microsoft with a undersized and strangely regional social network, which could prevent some investment and revenue challenges. You could end up with Microsoft's TikTok and then ByteDance's TikTok, both having very separate platforms and users, and this is going to affect everyone who's involved with the app, whether it's advertisers and how they get across to all those different platforms, or if it's the influencers who now have a smaller audience, or just everyday users who just now have a smaller pool of content. Another factor that Microsoft needs to consider is just the headache and the scrutiny that a social media platform can bring. Now, this is not the largest problem to tackle, but there is a lot of policing involved with social media. Microsoft is new to the world of content moderation and the associated headaches that that can bring, from hate speech, misinformation, copyright infringement, false political news. You can see in this article here, they discuss how Microsoft has little experience in the tricky and subjective art of corralling a social media site. Microsoft would have to defend itself against significant criticism from both sides of the political aisle about unevenly enforced policies. So like I said, this is not unsurmountable, but it is definitely a consideration. Okay, now here is this quote from Evercore's Kirk Materne, who said, "Overall, we acknowledge that TikTok could open up a much bigger total addressable market for Microsoft in the advertising market. But the consumer market is fickle, and we believe that Microsoft needs to make sure that a potential acquisition of TikTok does not overshadow the commercial cloud narrative that has powered Microsoft shares higher over the past 5 years." And he has a point. Microsoft's cloud business, Azure, has grown their shares 340% over the last 5 years. So this has been a major market of success for them. Microsoft's cloud and remote collaboration tools really drove their earnings home over these last few months through the pandemic. And you can see that they reported $38 billion in revenue for the last 3 months, up 13% from the same period in the prior year. And this is not the first time that Microsoft has beat their earnings estimate. You can see here that they've pretty consistently been above their earning estimates for the last almost 3 years at least. Now, despite this solid earnings report, on July 22nd, if you look here, you can see that their stock price actually dropped off a good little chunk there. But it then spiked back up after the news of this possible TikTok purchase emerged. So obviously people are kind of excited by this prospect. Now, regardless of these recent dips and spikes based on this news here, Microsoft has been a very solid buy historically. Obviously, they are a household name in technology and have often been a leader and pioneer in some of those areas. And you can see on this chart here, we're looking at the last 5 years. That's a pretty steady and solid climb on their share price. So the news of this TikTok purchase has certainly created hype, and we've seen a little spike in the price because of that. But it's kind of yet to be seen if this will actually be a strong value add for Microsoft without a big side of complications. I think Microsoft is a really strong long-term buy regardless of what happens with TikTok there. I think there's a lot to consider though while they're making these negotiations. I do not envy the people sitting around that table having to discuss it because that is complicated. It could be really great for Microsoft. It could open up the doors to a whole new world of things to navigate that they're not familiar with. Now, what do you guys think? Do you think that this is worthwhile for them? Do you think it'll actually happen? Do you think it's going to get shut down? I don't know. This could go so many different ways. It'll be really interesting to see. Make sure that you leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. I always love hearing from you guys. Make sure you give us that thumbs up, especially if you made it all the way to the end of the video, and be subscribed to our channel here, please and thank you. Thank you for tuning in today, and I hope you guys have an awesome one. Cheers.